Hello, crew. As I said earlier, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Penn State thing and about the post 9/11 response by the U.S. and kind of stuff that's going on. So Tuesday morning, I went into work to work out, and I always turn on ESPN because I can't stand watching anything else on TV, and it distracts me. And I was thinking that I would get to watch the highlights of the Monday Night Football game, and instead, there's a half-hour-long live news conference of Jerry Sandusky's lawyer sitting on the steps of Bellefonte, where I've spent the courthouse steps of Bellefonte, where I've spent quite a bit of time. No, I guess not in the courthouse of Bellefonte, but we spent a lot of time in the Bellefonte area. But anyway, he was giving a press conference and basically talking about the charges and laying out what his legal defense was going to be. And he came across to me as a little naive about public relations. He basically said, we're going to try to assail all the accusers' credibility. But one of the things he did say, which I thought was interesting and which I agree with, was that the press has pretty much convicted Sandusky already, and the public has pretty much convicted him. And the way that they talk about the case, they spent hours and hours on it, lots and lots of people writing articles and recriminations of everyone involved. They should have done this, they should have done that. And I already said that, that really bothers me. And I realized actually, and what and so this lawyer was like, you keep on referring to these people as his victims, and they're not. They're alleged victims. They're accusers. And it was funny because right after that, somebody asked a question, what about the victims, da 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 da. And, and you get the lawyers for the alleged victims who are saying, Sandusky's a coward for not facing his victims, and that the interesting thing is that then the reason I'm likening this to 9/11 is because in I think the defense bill in Congress that was being put through, there's a provision in there that says that they can detain people indefinitely who are suspected of terrorist activities, including American citizens. And this is related in the same way that it's a legal proceeding, and as Americans, one of the things that we've always prided about our country is we're innocent until proven guilty. We can't be held without bail or without all of these things. We're allowed to be face our accusers. We're allowed to all these things to protect people from wrongfully being persecuted and prosecuted. I guess you could be persecuted, but wrongfully prosecuted, wrongfully punished. And this is a big principle. And it's funny because I was talking to Eric today at lunch. One of the things I think we do as Americans is we are interested in exceptions and exceptionalism, and we're interested in decisive action, and we yearn for clear-cut moral stances that we can take. We don't want to be bothered with shades of gray. We want right and wrong. We want everything to be laid out and an easy decision. And we want, and lots of movies, lots of songs, lots of entertainment, lots of books are actually about at what point does it become okay to behave in a way that normally isn't okay. So for instance, I can go take revenge on somebody if he rapes my wife and murders my children. Then it's okay for me to go do that, and that's justified. And that's something you see in movies all the time. And one of the things that I think all of this stuff brings out, and our post 9/11 reaction in the U.S. is very much along those lines, where we we suspended a whole bunch of the freedoms that we have that supposedly the terrorists hate. And so we took them away from ourselves to protect ourselves from terrorists. And it seems to me that in these real extreme cases, like the Sandusky case or 9/11, are the times when you put those mechanisms in place to ensure cool, level-headed, information-based decision-making, and to make it impossible for you to jump to the wrong conclusion and overreact. And it seems like in those cases in particular, and so it's like, so yeah, we want innocent until proven guilty, unless it seems completely obvious that the guy's guilty, in which case we should just be able to, he should have his legs cut off. Well, not his legs, but anyway. Or, in the case of, they're terrorists. We should be able to hold any terrorist we want, domestic or foreign. And it's like, well, the problem is that who decides who's a terrorist? And unless you have a clear process that everybody understands and that everybody knows how to navigate, and you have the opportunity to defend yourself if you are prosecuted or accused of being a terrorist, that undermines our way of life. And I really value the idea that there's this fairness and there's this process, and that we should follow the processes. And I don't like, and I think maybe that's the underlying thing with this whole Penn State thing, is everyone's ready to pile on and have a public lynching. And it's the same thing with the post 9/11 response, where we had an opportunity to respond as a nation and create a unifying response to that, and instead we became more secretive. We became we isolated ourselves. We started taking care of everything ourselves, and it was a vigilante approach to trying to right the wrongs that were 9/11. And instead of looking at the world and say, this is a great opportunity to create a process for dealing with these things, so that the countries of the world will have a recourse and will have a model for how to deal with something like this. Instead, no, we just said, well, we've got the military, we're going to do whatever we want, and screw you. And that's, and I think that in the long term, what it does is it undermines us as a country. It undermines our humanity. It undermines our ability to be fair and reasonable. And it really bothers me. So, anyway, that's my rant. Still dead. I will talk to you at some point in the future.